Hi there. Today's book is another by George V. Higgins. I previously reviewed The Digger's Game, and the book starts with another example of his rich ear for dialogue. And basically, you're eavesdropping on a conversation between three guys who have recently been released from prison. Now, as I said, the dialogue is very realistic, and just as in real life, if you overheard somebody talking, you wouldn't really necessarily understand what they were talking about until you kind of gain some context to it. And it's the same with this. They don't, as people in real life do, they're not explaining their meanings all the time because they know the other person knows what they're talking about. So it takes you a little bit of time to kind of gain a full understanding of what it's all about. But this does incite your curiosity, which is always a powerful emotion to have. And it reminded me a little bit of the way the people I used to work with in Liverpool would speak. It was always, I saw the other fella, and he was going to the other place. It was never specified, and somehow we understood it. We understood what people were talking about. So it's kind of elliptical. Now, the TV series The Wire, which was a massive success and rightly so, when you started watching that, I would guess most people didn't really understand what the characters were talking about, particularly the drug dealers. And you had to learn the dialogue, and then you understood what it was all about, and it was very rich and very entertaining. And it's the same with this book and most of George V. Higgins' books. Anyway, what they're talking about is Johnny Amato, who's one of them, is a degenerate gambler, and he really always needs money, and that's one of the reasons he was in prison. And the other two are younger guys, Frankie and Russell, and he wants them to knock over a card game that's run by organised crime. And it's an easy touch. It's been robbed before, and they're going to do the actual robbery, and he's going to establish an alibi, and it will be a happy payday. And they're a little bit apprehensive about this because having organised crime after you obviously is quite lethal. But he says, no, it was robbed before by the guy who's running it, Mark Trapman, whose game it is. He got a couple of guys to knock over his own game. Then, after all the heat died down and everything, he kind of admitted he'd done it and nothing happened to him. So he said, so if it's robbed again, they'll just think it's him and he'll get the blame. So they go, and lo and behold, it's in a motel. They go in and they rob it very successfully. They take the gambling money and the money off the punters as well, and make a getaway. And the scene then shifts, and Cogan, the titular character of the book, is having a conversation with a lawyer, or mouthpiece more accurately, who represents the man who's the kind of boss of organised crime, who's behind bars. So he's the link between him and his underlings. And Cogan has been contacted, because this is his line of work, to find out who did it and to deal with them. And so he says, well, the obvious thing is, he said, Mark Trapman did it before, so we'll go and have a word with Marky. So he gets two heavies, Steve and Barry, and they ambush Mark. And again, you've got this rich dialogue as they're waiting for him. They're sitting in the car. These are two brothers, and one used to be a semi-pro boxer. And conversation's brilliant, and then they follow him. He's picked up a woman, and then they follow him home, and they ambush him in his car, and get him out of the car, and he recognises them, and he says, "Steve, Barry, I was always good to you," and basically he used to employ them to do exactly this kind of thing, and then they go, "Yeah, Marky, you know, but somebody else has employed us now to do the same to you," you know, sort of thing. And basically they give him a terrible beating. He doesn't admit anything because it wasn't him anyway, so he ends up in hospital. So subsequently, Cogan has tracked down the real perpetrators, and after another conversation with the lawyer, brings in Mitch from New York to kill at least one of them, and possibly two of them, because one of them knows him, so he's hard to get close to. So again, amazing dialogue, conversation with Mitch, talking about all his problems. He's on bail at the moment, some charge that you know, he's going to go away for a long time on the kind of three-time loser rule. And it turns out he's drinking heavily, and he's bringing hookers back to the hotel that they've set him up in. And as Cogan says to the lawyer, you know, what he doesn't drink, he screws. He's a liability. So what they do, they get one of the hookers to provoke a scene, and Mitch gets arrested, and his bail is revoked, and he's off the scene. And then the plot thickens. There's a drug bust in it, the drug deal that goes wrong. There's the way the whole thing is resolved is very, very interesting. I won't give away what happens, but the key of it all, I would say, throughout the book is treachery. People turning on each other. People pretending to be one thing, pretend to be a friend, and they're really not. They're acting against your interest. Everyone's acting in their own interest. Terrific book. Another great read from George V. Higgins. Now, this book was filmed. His first major book, Friends of Eddie Cole, was filmed, as I mentioned, with Robert Mitchum. This was filmed. Brad Pitt starred as Cogan. Not a great piece of casting, in my opinion. But James Gandolfini was Mitch, and I thought he nailed it. He was excellent at it. The movie was called Killing Them Softly, which is a stupid title, and I think they only used that title to sort of as an excuse for a title of a song, and because the line's not in the book at all, and it's not really what he does. He doesn't kill people softly. He blasts them with rifles and pistols. So the film was a bit disappointing, especially compared with the previous film. But the book is a top read, definitely.